Hello, guy. My name is Anthony, and today is a history lesson, something that I take very serious. As an African, I strongly believe that we should not forget about our history. As our people says, if you don't know where you came from, it's going to be difficult for you to structure yourself, to challenge what's going to be ahead of you. Before going any further, I would just like to read a short passage of the historical account or book that I'm writing about the Sierra Leone and the Liberian Civil War. It has taken more than 3 years since I left Shawema, a town in eastern Sierra Leone, where my father deserted me in a hospital to start a new life in Bumpe, a village that was 16 miles away from Bo Town, in the south of the country, where it was relatively peaceful. Starting afresh in the unfamiliar country, where there is no parent or relative to support me, was an unprecedented challenge, especially during the recovery stage of an illness that has pinned me down for nearly 2 years. But as day goes by, I came to realize that escaping from the war in the East or the illness in the hospital have done nothing to dissuade fate from pushing me to my limit. Yet I was determined to see myself through. That's what I wrote. 1991, I left Liberia and I went to Sierra Leone as a Sikh refugee. My dad carried me on his back. I accompanied with 2 of my relatives, my stepmom and my elder brother, on what I describe as my Sikh pilgrim. That happened around January. While I was in the hospital in mid-March, my father decided to go back to Liberia so that he would get some money to pay my hospital bill. And on the 23rd of March, the RUF invaded Sierra Leone. And that was the end of our connection. March 23rd, 2021 is going to be 30 years since the first gun was fired in Sierra Leone, which changed the history of the country forever. March 23rd is a day that I will never forget. March 23rd is a day that I believe it should be written down in the history of the country. March 23rd is a day that brought about a change and the destruction of the society. And March 23rd is a day that started the episode where hundreds of thousands of innocent people lost their lives. And after 30 years, I am still here. I got my connection with Sierra Leone. Everything which I saw in those days, until this very day, they are still in place. Suffering is still in that society. Women are still second-class citizens. Poverty is rampant everywhere. Everything that constituted to the civil war, they are still in that society. And yet, 30 years ago, for those reasons, we brought about a war that destroyed many innocent lives. Before March 23rd, 1991, Sierra Leone was a country with the hope and prospect of development. But people who thought that the government was incompetent enough to cater for the well-being of the people, they brought about a civil war that destroyed everything. Some of us, we lost friends, we lost family members, we lost relatives, destruction went there, we got sick, and we are living with a legacy. What have we learned? What changes have we done to correct the mistakes, our past mistake? We at Girls' Right Initiative Some of us will witness the sorrow. We went through some of these things. We know exactly, we feel the pain. We knew what we went through during those days. Those days when I was on the street and I couldn't have anything to eat. Those days when you will see people lying on the street, they will be dying. Even there was no water, diarrhea, cholera, all these things, and bullets will be killing people on the street of Sierra Leone. On the street of Bo, where Kamajos and AFRC, they were fighting war, where you will see dead body everywhere. You will see buildings on flame. Come and just, they will be chasing the Timini guys in Bolton, and you will see your neighbor being killed because they belongs to that tribe. In the March 2012 war, wherein it become a situation where nobody life was safe anymore. After all those years, I'm still seeing tribalism among us. There is no development. What have we learned? What have history taught us? Many of our young generation, those who are under 30s, they have no idea about what I'm talking about. Because some of them, they were too young for them to know. I want for our young generation to listen to some of this message. I lost a lot of friends. I lost people like Bobo Amara. I lost people like Brema. I lost my friends who refused to listen to their parents because they thought that the war was a new means of earning, and today they have gone. They met their untimely death. Even though we were young, but we thought beyond that. I used to have three solid questions about myself, because I believe in self-esteem. If you have self-esteem about yourself and you are somebody who can question things around you, definitely you're going to craft a lifestyle for yourself that tomorrow is going to be profitable. When the Kamajos came to recruit young people, my question was, if I die fighting as a Kamajo, what benefit am I going to get out of it? When the Liberian MPFL came in my region and I lived with them for over a year, my question was, where are the children of Charles Taylor? Where is my schooling? Why are these warlords or these politicians are not bringing their children to join the protest, to be on the front line? Why not we use the ballot board instead of using force for us to bring about the change? The destruction that our country saw started on March 23rd, when Foday Sankoh, he came with the RUF, or the Revolutionary United Front, to fight in that country, with the motion that he was there to get rid of the colonial-led government, to bring power back to the people. But instead, he started killing innocent people. He started amputating civilians because he believed that they were supporting the government. March 23rd, 2021 is going to take us 30 years since the Sierra Leonean Civil War started. What have we learned from that war? Our people are still in suffering. Politicians are still the same. Tribalism is still over there. Innocent people lost their lives. I saw where they would slaughter human being like a goat, and I would be standing there watching, see their fighting. He was a taxi driver. They asked him, he couldn't speak Mende, and that was the death sentence. They slaughtered him like a goat. Those were the days when the life of a chicken was more valuable than that of a human being. What have we learned? Some of those young guys who thought they were fighting a war for them to enrich themselves, today they are amputees. They are beggars on the street. Some of us that they used to persecute, they thought they were the senior man. We are far more better than them. If you refuse to value your life, you lose everything. I didn't have anything in those days. I was a street boy. I mingle with everyone, and I move around the streets trying to look out for my food. I hold on to my pen instead of the gun that many of my friends were taking to fight in that war. Because I know if I live long enough to see the end of the war, I will be able to narrate the history to the young generation that are going to come out. And today, there are people who are below 30 years who sometimes one way or the other, they are listening to my story. And the initiation of Girls' Right Initiative was actually prompted because of the suffering that we are seeing in the society, the neglect that we see in the society, the nepotism and tribalism that is still on in that society, that people don't care, the ruling elite, they don't care about the common people. So some of us who are the common people will stand our ground so that we'll do what we got to do so that people will feel their life will be much more better. How many of us still remember March 23rd? How many of us really remember March 23rd? What is the percentage of the population that still remember March 23rd, 1991? It is a day that I want for us to stick in our head so that it will be in our history, so that we will never again repeat what we did on that day. Where is Foday Sankoh? Where is his struggle? He brought about a senseless struggle and a senseless killing in that country that lead us to nowhere. Instead, it destroyed our institution. It destroyed our infrastructure. It destroyed the life of innocent people. Children were cut short from the face of the earth. They couldn't achieve their dreams. Many of these people, they were people who have dreams, and tomorrow they should have been the leader of our great nation. I remember in Bo, around New Site, where that Timini man, Kamajos were running behind him. They were calling him, "Level me, or this is rebel, this is rebel." And he slept on the ground because there was a rain had just fallen and the place was slippery. And before he got up, they shot his head and he went down quietly on the ground. What have we learned? Killing your brother because he belongs to a different tribe. Killing your sisters because you have a little commotion. Then we call ourselves civilized human beings. What is so barbaric than killing somebody that you have been living with just because few days ago he becomes someone else because he don't speak your language or because he talks something else? Sierra Leone is bigger than the Mende. Sierra Leone is bigger than the Timini. Sierra Leone is bigger than the Loco. Sierra Leone is much more bigger than every one of us. What profit are we getting with our hatred? Which image are we selling to the world? We make that even some of us who are traveling out of that country, we will have no respect everywhere we go. Oh, these are the Sierra Leonean. These people, they are from poverty. But every day in our society, we are bluffing. We have diamond, we have gold, we have boxer, we have router, we have everything. But it doesn't reflect on us. Instead, we are living in poverty. And the leaders are living in wealth. Why can't we share to build the society? Because of our greed and our division, foreign people have captured our country, and the Lebanese believe that the society is in their pocket, and we cannot take it out from their pocket because we are not united enough for us to fight back for what truly belongs to us. What do you have to tell your children? I remember there is a lot of people, when you try to talk to them about their history, for them to learn to know about their history so that they will know where their country came from and where it is heading. They will say, no, I'm not a historian. I didn't want to know anything about history. The past is the past, and I didn't want to know anything about the past. Anybody who keeps saying such a thing, you are stupid. Because if you don't know your past, you won't know your future. If you don't know your past, you won't know who is your enemy. If you don't know your past, you don't know who is pressing you down. If you don't know your past, you won't know how to lead your nation. I urge our society that we should start teaching our history, the war history in our school. Tell the young people that March 23rd was the day that the rebels came into this society. It was a day that we initiated our genocide that killed thousands of people. It was a day that we destroyed the foundation of our society. It was a day that the tribalism exploded in our society. It was because of March 23rd that my dad wasn't able to return back to Sierra Leone to take me home. And ever since, I got stuck with you guys. I didn't want to go back. I have no more home. Everything got lost. The Sierra Leonean street became my home. And here I am today. I am still advocating for the Sierra Leonean society so that the bloodshed that I saw on that street that rolled down like river here and there for all those 14 years during the war when I was there, I want for it to stop so that the division that I saw over there that leads to innocent people killing innocent people with no remorse, for us to stop. My voice to our people, let's come together. Let's remember our history so that we will put ourselves in a position that things that we did in the past, we will never again repeat those things. Let's think about our young generation. Don't screw it up anymore. I bleed in my heart when I think about those days. When the borderline was closed and I was no longer, and I remained to be in exile. And ever since and then, I've always been in exile. 30 years ago, since I came into exile, I've never been able to live anymore in Liberia. My tongue has changed. I couldn't even understand my mother. People in Sierra Leone, they are trying to hang their misery somewhere else. They are blaming other people that they were responsible for the war. They forget that Foday Sankoh, he was a Sierra Leonean. They forget that Mosquito, alias Sambogare, he was a rebels. All those guys, Augustine, those guys, they were Sierra Leonean, tough generals in the RUF fighting force. They lost their lives. Some of them lost their lives after they have killed so many innocent people. They are persecuting Charles Taylor. in the UK, in the United Kingdom, because they believe he carried war in Sierra Leone. Our people say you cannot stop a bird from sitting over your house or flying over your house, but you can stop it from building a nest. If the Sierra Leoneans were not willing or ready to fight a war, how will Chancellor influence them? They were ready, because I remember those people we are saying in those days that if there is no war, there will be no peace. We need war so that we'll change our corrupt government. But when the war came and they were no longer able to contain the war and the innocent people started dying, they blamed Charles Taylor. Why is Charles Taylor not charged in Liberia, where he started all his crime? Because we have that saying, the Liberians believe that they started that war by themselves, so they take the responsibility upon themselves that it was their war. Until we know the root cause of something and we take responsibility of our action, there will be no way for us to solve the problem. The Sierra Leoneans should sit up and stand up to the frame that yes, they needed that war, they brought about the war upon themselves, and they should take responsibility for them to fight against it, and then we will solve the problem. Don't cast blame. Don't cast blame. Sierra Leone was a sovereign country. When the war came to Liberia, they take responsibility of it. They believe they open their own truth and reconciliation institution. People talk about what they're gonna do. Think, Prince Johnson is there. Alaji Kurma is over there. All these fighters, they are over there. They still found themselves in the society. They take responsibility of their action. Alaji Kurma, he led the Mandingos into the war. Prince Johnson, he led the Gio people into the war. And he killed Samekedo. He is still there. Because he took responsibility of his action, he still has the people. The division is there, but they are able to sort it out. Unimo J, Roosevelt Johnson for the crown. This guy took responsibility of their action. But who is in Sierra Leone that took responsibility of the RUF after the death of Foday Sankoh? They cast blame on Charles Taylor. Hinganoma brought about the Kamaja movement when the government and the blue helmet in that country, they were sitting down and they were killing civilians in those regions. I was there. Do you know how many times they attacked Bumpe? Innocent people died. Chief Waters, the region chief in Bumpe, he was killed. Because I'm not going to say he was drowned. He was killed. The government couldn't do anything. The Liberian task force, they fought over there to free Sierra Leone. You don't know this. When the rebels came neck to Bo, they were about to destroy that city in 1995. And the blue helmet, the United Nations blue helmet was over there. After they had stopped the executive outcome to not end the war because it was a mercenary group. When the UN were putting pressure on the executive outcome, the South African mercenary group should end the war. And the Sierra Leonean army was not having the potential to do anything. People were dying and the blue helmet was over there. Instead, they were impregnating gas. When the Nigerian peacekeeping force, they were all over there, they couldn't do nothing. They were trading diamond, impregnating school gas. It was a task force from Liberia. The Liberian mercenaries, they were the one who liberated that area, the whole of the South. In 1995, you bring problem to yourself, but you start casting blame somewhere else. Take responsibility. I believe in people taking responsibility. I take responsibility of my action. Take responsibility of your action. And you will see the area. We will be able to reason together. But if you continue to cast blame here and there will be no solution. This is the reason why we allow our society to be exploited. Because one person will just take that little bribe and then they sell the whole society. Why can't we come together and build ourselves like the Mandingos? When Alaji Kurma, he knew that the Liberians or like the Gio people were killing his people, he came to Sierra Leone, he prayed, he went to Ghana, to Guinea, and the Mandingo, they formed the Urimo. And he went back to Liberia to fight. After the war, he took responsibility of his action. I have to do what I did because my people were dying. We need to protect our people. Sierra Leone, they start looking for scapegoat. Blaming this person, doing this, while the right people who are doing the deed, they are still over there. Do you remember? When the ARF overthrew President Kaba and he ran to Guinea and he condemned the whole Sierra Leone that this country was rebels-infested country. When power grip us, we can say anything. It is a history lesson, and I want for some of you guys to know that what we have been through, these are some of these things people will never tell you guys. And I'm purposely saying this thing for the young generation. We voted Kaba in power. Do you know how many times we vote in 1996? When they want to black your hands, we use We use Vaseline so that we vote the SLPP as much as we can. The United Nations, the British government, they were lying that it was a democratic election because they wanted to put a puppet in the power so that they're going to continue to control our economy. 96 election was not free and fair. James Jonah was a liar. I was there. Do you know how many times I voted in that election? I was even underage, but they were not asking for age. It was like a communion celebration. Who was the underage? We were not there. That is the kind of democracy that the Westerners want for us to have in our society. I was novice in those days. I was doing it for fun. Do you know why I voted in that election in 1996? Because I wanted to have an ID picture. I don't have the means for me to be taking picture, but I know if I go there, they're going to make an ID card for me. And because I wanted that ID card, so I went to vote. And do you know how many times I voted? I voted over 5 times. I wasn't alone. INEC workers, those people who were voting for INEC, those people who are coordinating, who are organizing this election, they then said that we are voting. If you go into the voting booth, they will ask you, who are you voting for? It is the pantry that we want. If you want broom, it's the pantry. You want soap? Not the pantry. You want mattress? Not the pantry. You want sweep here? Not the pantry. You want roof over here? Not the pantry. Not the pantry we want. That was the slogan. Everything about the election in 1996 is what the pantry. Was it a democratic election? Even though we know the APC have been brutalizing the society for so many years and the XLPP has been sidelined for so long. But was it really a democratic election? The United Nations, the international community, they failed us. Instead, they started lying that Charles Taylor was responsible when they have already given the country Liberia embargo for so many years. I hate hypocrites. We have to take responsibility. Taxi driver Nabo, those who were in Bo, after the UNPP was defeated, Karifa Smart, the guy who was too smart to even for his own destiny, they will tie his lamp, which was his symbol, to shine on Sierra Leone, and they drag it around the country. I am a neutral body. The reason why I am brave enough to say some of these things is the fact that I believe in unity. I don't belong to any tribe in that country. I belong to Sierra Leone. I am a Sierra Leonean. I'm not a tribalist. I don't see no difference between Sierra Leone and Liberia. Remove the colonial division. What do you see? A flat piece of land. There are Bassa people in Sierra Leone. There are Bassa people in Liberia. There are Mende people in Sierra Leone. There are Mende people in Liberia. There are Kisi people in Sierra Leone. There is Kisi people in Liberia. It is our country. Colonialism put the division, and we sit over there. We are calling ourselves Liberian. We are calling ourselves Sierra Leonean. This is a division that they wanted to create among us so that we won't be able to unite ourselves. And we concur with that, and we are fighting it, killing each other because we belong to different nationality. Are we not smart enough? Some of you guys, you are being at school. How come there is Kisi in Guinea as a Guinea Kisi? Then there is a Kisi in Liberia as a Liberian Kisi. And then there is a Kisi in Sierra Leone as a Sierra Leonean Kisi. One speak English, Liberian, American English. One speak French because they were colonized by France. Then one speak British English. But yet these people, they speak the same language. Then we call them 3 nationalities. Are we stupid? It is time we need to unite ourselves. We need to rethink where we were before the introduction of colonialism. We liberate ourselves from the colony, but our mind are still being colonized. Why can't you be smart and become your brother's keeper? Thomas Sankara, because of a productive industrial work that he was doing in that country, they used his own brother to kill him. How many patriotic African and visionary are being killed every day in that country? Just like how March 23rd started a killing rampage in the Sierra Leonean society. Let us think, brothers. Let us think, sisters. Let's come together and work for a unity of our society. Nobody can give back our society. We cannot beg for our freedom. We need to grab it and take it for ourselves. Look, here I am on a lockdown. Everywhere I go, every phone I feel, they have to identify me as a black. But when I was in Sierra Leone, I never even knew I was a black man. Even though we have a tribalism. But everywhere you go, it's like you are in a golden cage. I wish some of you guys who know you think we are in heaven. I remember there was a day, one boy told me, he said, I prefer to be a prisoner in America than being a free man in Sierra Leone. Then I look at that boy and I laugh. I say, oh dear God, he don't know what he's talking about. You become a prisoner in America, you will end up being a gay. Because if you are not strong enough to fight against them, they're going to change you for life. And once gay, always a gay. They dehumanize you in those areas. He don't know what he was saying. Like our people say, the value of a shade is not known until the tree is cut down. The freedom and harmony that we have in our society, we will not know that until you lose it. I really want for us to think about this thing. Think about March 23rd. Where would we have reached by now if there was no war? Let's think about those questions. We shouldn't allow our young generation to go through some of those things that we have been through. Let's put a stop to tribalism. Let's put a stop to hate. Let's put a stop to nepotism. Let's bring about good governing. And Guess Right Initiative stand in that gap to bring the teaching, to tell our people what they need to know. Thank you very much. My name is Anthony Darwin.